Hello and thank you for watching this video today. This is Jim Holt with Eris Builders. We're going to cover in this video construction pay applications and construction invoices, specifically from builder to owner. So I'm going to go over here in a minute this pay application, but there's a couple things I want to talk about first. Most importantly, you want to make sure that the pay application or the invoice process is agreed up front in your construction contract. It needs to be spelled out and detailed exactly what is going to be included in that pay application process, time frames, what happens in case of disputes, on and on. We have another video out that we talk about contract agreements and what needs to be incorporated into those agreements. You're going to want to watch that to make sure you got these items covered. But just make sure that you've got the pay application process covered in your contract agreement between owner and builder. You're going to, before that even happens, want to make sure that the owner and the builder discuss whether or not there is a lender involved in the project. If there is a lender or a bank involved in the project, sometimes they will have their own pay application process that will dictate how that's going to work. So it's very important to discuss all these items up front before you get into a contract agreement. Now let's go over the pay application process. In this particular video, we are using an AIA document, American Institute of Architects. It's a standard agreement. A lot of banks require this. On this particular project, we did have a lender, and I'll talk more about that here later. But the items that you see up at the top are blacked out. These are owner and architect personal items. So here you can see that this is the AIA G702 document. Very simple process, but there are some things you want to make sure that are included. For instance, you want your original contract sum. That should be at the top of every pay application or invoice. And then any change orders that have taken place thus far. In this particular case, we did have a lender involved, and they were not going to approve anything over the contract sum. So the owner and I had a separate agreement for how we were going to handle change orders. So, and then your contract sum to date is basically just the combination of the change orders and the original contract sum. The next item, number 4 here, total completed and stored to date. I'm going to show you this on the backup sheet next, but this is all the items that have been completed and installed on the project through the end of this pay application period. This pay application was a monthly process that the bank dictated. At the end of every month, we would submit an invoice to the owner and the bank. They would then send out an inspector that we would meet with on the job site to go over that particular month's work completed. And I'm going to again show you that on the next the backup sheet. Then panning down, you can see that we've got an item here for retainage. We had no retainage held on this project as it is a residential project, and typically you don't have retainage on residential projects. Coming down further, you can see the previous certificate for payments. These are the total of all the items that we've been paid for thus far on the project. And then down below that, current payment due. This you'll see is generated on the next page on the backup sheet. That's what we're billing for this particular month. And then the next item is the balance to finish. So that's what's left to be completed on the project, what's left to be billed. Over to the right side of this AIA document is just some dates and owner information and some signatures that are required by lenders and or architects if you're required to have your architect sign. And then in this particular case, this document has to be notarized. So now I'm going to take you to the backup sheet that you see here. Let's go up to the top. This is called the continuation sheet. It's basically where all the numbers come from. On the first page, I'll just pan over and you can see these are the dates. This was for the period ending 3/19 of 07. So again, like I said, this was a monthly pay application process. So first thing you're going to notice over on the left is description of work. This is basically the scope of work for this particular project. This was the actual budget that we established up front that is part of our contract agreement. So you'll see a scope of work item, and then next to that a scheduled value. Again, this is all part of our original construction agreement. Next category you'll see is work completed from previous application. These are all the items that have been completed and paid for thus far. So you'll see a lot of these items are 100% complete. For instance, let's take this one here, doors and hardware. This was our original contract amount. This is what we've been paid to date. So there is a remaining amount still outstanding on that particular line item. But for the most part, this job was almost finished when we did this pay application. The next item is work completed this period. This is what you're going to, or what has been generated by the builder as an invoice or a pay application, and what the lender or the owner is going to come out and review in the field with us to make sure these items have been completed. So for instance, in this month period, we had an original budget of $53,000 for cabinets or millwork. We're billing for that entire amount for this period. So within that month time frame, we must have completed all of the work on. As I pan down further, you'll see some of the other items that we're billing for in this particular pay period. And then down at the bottom, you're going to get your total. This is the total you saw on the front page that transfers over. Actually, all these categories do. But this is what we're billing for this month. And again, these items are what we're going to walk through with the whether it's the lender that is conducting an inspection, or the builder, or the architect, or anybody that's conducting the inspection for that month's work completed. Next item, material presently stored. These are if you're storing any material items off-site. We are not, so we didn't bill anything there. And then the rest of this information is just basically calculations that show you the percent completes, and to the far right, the balance left to finish on the contract. That's pretty much the pay application. I'm going to go back to the front sheet here just so you can see that again to look at the numbers. And if you got any further questions on pay applications or invoices or anything building and construction related, you can search for that information on our website, which is erisbuilders.com, or by contacting us at 480-580-5980, or email at jamesholt@cox.net. I want to thank you for watching this video today, and good luck with your projects.